Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Andrew Donovan. The summer, especially with America 250, always feels extra patriotic, a perfect time to honor veterans and those who work to support America's defenders. Joining me now is Melissa Spicer, the co-founder of Clear Path for Veterans, celebrating 15 years this year. She's here to talk about the history, her work, and for the first time, we'll talk about how you got started on this journey. Melissa, welcome to Newsmakers.
Thank you, Andrew. Happy to be here.
Really appreciate it. Can you believe it's been 15 years?
No, it went by very quickly.
And having you here with us is somewhat rare. We've done coverage of Clear Path for, gosh, its whole history, interviewed so many members of your team, but you often let others do the talking.
I do. I think that's really important for a mission as important as Clear Path. Founders tend to hang on to something that they give birth to too long, and I think for a mission that's as important and needs the community involvement, it's better to let the mission speak for itself.
But you are here on a special occasion, the 15th anniversary, yes, but really for the first time, we're going to talk about how you got along this journey, what sent you along on this journey. And I'll start, it somewhat goes back to a medical diagnosis.
Yeah.
Will you tell me about that?
Yeah. Again, yes, this is the first time I'm actually sharing this because I think it's important. I think it was around 38-ish, I have something called endometriosis, which is a disease. It's an invisible disease that makes it difficult to have children or get pregnant, and that was a struggle for probably most of my life, but probably pinnacled around 38 when I realized that it wasn't going to come naturally for me. That was a time where I was successful in every other aspect of my life. I was able to solve problems, complex problems, both in my personal life, in my business, but yet couldn't perform this basic function. My husband was very patient with me. He kind of let me just do my thing, and I continued to isolate. I got socially awkward. There were some things that kind of rattled my cage a little bit during that period of time.
A lot of people have this diagnosis, but for you, it wouldn't allow you to have children.
Mine was significant. I was probably like a textbook case, just that I was a healthy individual. You would never have known it looking at me. But the scar tissue that comes with it, the things that happen internally, fertility was not the problem. That's why when we use some of these labels like infertility or whatever, it just messes you up because the fertility wasn't the issue. It was the invisible wounds of the disease that created the complications of not being able to get pregnant.
And at one point, you were planning to do IVF.
I was, yeah.
Until?
Yeah. I was planning because I'm a problem solver and I was going to get that baby no matter what until the morning of. My husband looked at me and he said, I'm not sure this is right for us. And it shocked me to the core to hear him say that. But I think at that moment, I heard him in a way that I wasn't hearing anybody else. And he said, there may be a different purpose for us. Maybe this isn't right for us. And I literally had to call the doctor that morning, waiting for us to come in, and say, I'm not going to come.
But your husband had more to say, and I think it's beautiful.
He said, I love you the way you are, and I love you for who you are, and I would rather not have you suffer any medical complications from all of the medication that you might have. And while it sounds like it's a great thing to do, maybe we wouldn't get what we wanted, type of thing. Hope I captured that.
So a tough realization that you'd have to close that chapter, that possibility of being a mom.
It was a strange moment because I don't think wives realize how much their husbands really love them. They love their children, but I think they really love their wives. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts my husband has ever given me is just, I love you for you. You're my wife. And he values that. But the pain of not having children was really hard for him to understand. Every once in a while he'd say, aren't you over that yet? I'm good with it. We are good with it. And we are good with it. I think it's the social and the expectations of when your body fails you or you think your body is failing you. We think it's our legacy. How many children do we have? What our children are doing. I think socially, as humans, that's just a common ground where people can relate to one another.
So a tough realization,
Yes.
but you now know that it opened up a huge opportunity for you and for this community.
Well, my husband, again, said, "You're driving me crazy, go get a dog." And I did. I got this little puppy named Maddie. She was cute, sweet, and I loved her. So I got the dog, and he's a big dog person too, and Maddie and I grew close over time. And then, yeah, that opportunity led me, I think I saw a void in the community where I was working full-time, and I had no place to take Maddie during the day. And there was this little fledgling daycare business, training facility, and she was getting ready. Her visa was running out and had to move, and I said, "Listen, I'm gonna buy your business." She said, "What? There's nothing to buy." And I just, as a token, I wanted to pay her for what she had started. And I walked into a business that I knew nothing about. And my dog Maddie and I became, good at communicating. I did become a certified trainer. I studied a lot about dog communication. I dove right into how dogs communicate with us, how humans infuse their thoughts on their dogs, but their dogs have their own way of thinking. And over time, I just became a resource for the community to drop their dogs off for the day, let them play. We would control socialization. We called it daycare. All of my friends were taking their kids to daycare while I was creating a daycare for people that had dogs. And it really was a beautiful thing looking back on it. I don't think I realized how impactful it was to the community, and it still exists today, until I see people that say, "Melissa, you kept me from taking my dog to the shelter." It's like people will say, "Our dogs are like our kids." Well, they're not really. They're a member of our family. And I think that they have a very unique place in the family that enhances everybody's lives. So it did open up a very good opportunity for me to kind of find my place, strengthen the bond. I always loved my dogs, and maybe God had a different plan for me.
And so part of that plan, you're now a dog whisperer, as people called you.
Yeah.
A veteran called you.
I think he called me several times, and I did not call him back because he had a program that he called Dogs to Vets. And at the time, I was working with a lot of veterinarians in the community to safe workplaces. I was working, with UPS on how to keep bites down. So I just figured it was another one of those opportunities.
A vet's calling, you think veterinarian.
I think veterinarian. So I didn't call him back because I was already working with a lot of veterinarians. And finally, I did call him back, and he said, "No, I'm a veteran." And I just was like, "Oh my God, I am so sorry." And so he needed a trainer to help with a service dog program where veterans would train their own service dog, which in theory sounded great. It didn't, that has since shifted. But what really struck me about that meeting was I was in awe of his desire to help others, even in this little moment of vulnerability that we shared. His vulnerability just getting out of the service, mine because I couldn't have kids, but both of us were armored up pretty well with hiding how we were feeling. We were armored up. We were sitting there sniffing each other. In dog training, we always say there's a 3-second butt sniff. In 3 seconds, you can determine what the intention is of the other dog. Well, we were doing like a little bit of that, and we were armored up. And he says, "Yeah, my wife's on me because I'm isolating." And I thought, "Oh, isolation, I know that." Little snapshot of vulnerability created this relatability that we then had. And then I realized that there were thousands of other veterans that were very similar to him. And so that was the spark for me to say, "I think I can help you." And he had the insight to the veteran community that I did not have. My sister had a little bit of insight of the veteran community because she was friends with her family took care of somebody who was deployed frequently. But for me, it was more of a, wow, I can relate to this guy. And he wants to give back. This is crazy. And he wanted to give back with intent, purpose. So it really, really hit my core.
That is the untold story of how a veteran entered Melissa Spicer's life.
Yes.
And you were 2 of the 3 people to build Clear Path for Veterans.
It is the magic of the mission.
Well, we're going to talk about the mission and as it continues today, but first we'll take a break. Newsmakers is back after this. Newsmakers is back. We're joined again by Melissa Spicer, the co-founder of Clear Path for Veterans, and also joining the table for the conversation is Ryan Woodruff, the current CEO of Clear Path for Veterans. Ryan, thanks for joining us, and Melissa, thanks for sticking around.
You bet.
Pleasure to be here.
Ryan, you know Melissa perhaps as well as anyone. What was it like to watch and hear in this room how she got to where she is today?
Honestly, sitting over there hearing Melissa speak on her story, one of which I've been able to tell others, it hits me differently. Hearing it come from her again, you know, after being with the organization for 10 years and being a part of what she built, it deeply resonates with me.
And so, Melissa, we ended at the point where now you have this partnership with this veteran. Give us now how it gets to this wonderful campus in Chittenango.
Well, the campus was I selected the campus because I knew the family that owned it, and it was always a special place, but very dilapidated. Community loved it. A lot of historical value to the Onondagas and the Oneidas.
It was a recreation center?
An old recreation center, big vision of the family, the previous owner. Never wanted to sell it, and I said, hey, listen, I just met somebody, I want to do this mission. I'd like to buy your property. I thought they'd say no. They said yes.
And the impetus was this training of dogs to benefit veterans, which is still what you do at the campus every day. Ryan, we see you with one of the dogs. You know, as the current caretaker of the canine side of it, what do you make of how it started and how it is today, that program?
It's full circle, you know, from where it began to my introduction to the campus, to walking on the property, to being fully immersed in that and becoming a member of the staff and then eventually becoming a dog trainer. I believe, you know, to me, hearing Melissa's story again, it reminds me of just how parallel our walks were, to live vicariously through her story in a different period of time. There's been no greater honor.
Melissa, what were the earliest days like? Was it hard to get this organization going? Are there things you're capable of now, 15 years later, that you couldn't imagine in those early days?
I think the answer to your question is no, but because I was fearless at the moment, I just felt that someone just tapped me on the shoulder and said, let's go. And so I think the key component that made it difficult was maintaining the trust that we were building with the veteran community. Because at the time, a lot of people wanted to help veterans. I think we selected that location to show this is your location, this is your home, this is your place. We weren't putting them beside another mission. It was an all-inclusive, this is for you.
You're not only training dogs to benefit veterans, but this campus is a welcoming place for them. When did the canteen program start, which is a weekly lunch you offer on Wednesdays?
2013. I went to a seminar at West Point and somebody played a video of the North Platte Canteen. And I watched that about these women of the community that came together to provide food and love for the people going off to war. Came home, I said, we're doing a canteen. And that's how it started. That was a great example of how community support can bring people together.
And you know, I've had the benefit of having some of the food on occasion. And you know, you'd think, you know, how good can the food be at a veteran's place? Well, it's some of the best food I've ever had. and you have a culinary program. And Ryan, as the current overseer of all things, you are the chief executive. How do you even explain to people how good the food is?
You know, it's more about community, but Chef Mike has his own brand. He's really developed something over the years of being a part of our staff. He's built community around food, and I think that's the most important ingredient.
And that's one way to bring people into the facility. And I know you're working hard to bring even more people in, bring the community in, let businesses observe what you do. Talk about that added publicity that you're pushing for now.
I've learned through my own exposure and my Clear Path experience that we couldn't do this without the community. Particularly over the past 7 or 8 months, we've been being very intentional about bringing the business community to ClearPath to have these micro experiences, to partake in our mission. And that's what our vision is all about, to bridge the military-civilian divide. Because, you know, Melissa and her founding of ClearPath, it really speaks best to that. A civilian coming together with a veteran, and that's what creates the growth in our community. With the 200,000 veterans and coming back to the nation every year, it's just so important that we're intentionally receiving them.
All right, we'll take another break. More with the folks from ClearPath for Veterans when Newsmakers continues. Newsmakers is back. We're here with the leadership of ClearPath for Veterans. All the way to my left is the CEO, Ryan Woodruff, and in between us is Melissa Spicer, the co-founder who began this wonderful journey for very personal reasons, dating back now 15 years. Welcome to you both. Ryan, we're trying to decide exactly which program of ClearPath to talk about, but there's so many. Mm-hmm. And I just wonder if you can encapsulate the spirit of all of these ways you help veterans.
I think the best way to describe this is it is for everybody. It is for veterans, it's for the community. We do help veterans find connection through canteen, through outreach, through personalized connections. It's a great environment for families. We have core programs and services, including our Canine Service Dog program, wellness. We do a Troops to Teachers program called Operation Socrates. We do workforce development. We have Friday night fires. There's such a wide variety of different programs and services, and that's done by design because we feel that we need to extend the invitation. It's our pleasure to serve you. We're expecting you to come to ClearPath. You don't have to be quote unquote broken. You don't have to be facing substance abuse necessarily, but we are here for you. And we recognize the challenges of leaving the services and trying to reclaim your identity and experiencing isolation and figuring out where your tribe is. We're that tribe.
Talk about extending the invitation. You're extending the footprint of ClearPath. You do suicide prevention programs in multiple counties. I hear the canteen is now on wheels.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've developed a great relationship as far north as St. Lawrence County, down in Broome, Hudson Valley. We've been out west towards Buffalo because we know the need is there. And back in the founding days of ClearPath, Melissa always said it, we're here, and when communities get to know what we're doing and they invite us in, we're going to answer the call to service. And that's the biggest thing too. A lot of the veterans I work with and the staff at ClearPath, their calling is to serve. They're looking for service above service and after service, so it's a blessing.
All right, we'll take our final break and have a final word with our guests right after this.
Live local news,
plus
Central New York's most accurate forecast, plus
local sports,
plus local talk, plus
breaking news, your story, and more.
Welcome to WSYR Plus.
A new way to get your local news, sports, and entertainment free on your TV. Watch News Channel 9 live or on demand. WSYR Plus is ready when you are. No cable, no antenna. Just download the free WSYR Plus app on your TV and start streaming today. WSYR Plus.
We have a few minutes left with our guests from ClearPath for Veterans. Ryan, as America embarks on the celebration of America 250, how does ClearPath play a role? And you as a veteran, how are you taking in all these celebrations?
You know, I thought about this deeply, and I do think about it this time of year every year, that we're trying to create a culture. We're trying to reclaim traditional warrior culture and what it means to communities and what it means to veterans returning home. So, you know, back during the days of World War II and service members were returning home, it looked a lot different than post-Vietnam. We're celebrating our 15th year anniversary year, and it just happens to coincide with the 250th year of our nation. And that's a significant milestone for both of us. And we're gonna be having an incredible celebration at our annual Red, White, and Blue barbecue this year.
Yeah. And Melissa, celebrating 15 years, the same year as America 250, and what a time for you to kind of open up about the untold story. Why was this a good time?
I think it was a good time because I'd love for ClearPath to live to be 250 years old. I think it's critically important that we as a community embed organizations like ClearPath, just like we care about schools, we care about roads, we care about all those things that are important to keeping our communities together. I think we have to find room for our veterans to find their place when they come home and get plugged in, because they're assets once they're on their path back home.
And knowing the trauma you went through that helped get you to this point. How do you balance the loss of what you weren't able to do, which is have children, with what you've brought to this community broadly, this community of veterans? How does that kind of settle in your mind?
That's a big question. I guess somebody once said to me, Melissa, you gave birth in a different way, and I would land with this. You know, everybody has a mother. Mothers are loaded up with love. But if you don't find a place to plant that love, it can become angry, it can get messy. And I think I was fortunate to be welcomed into the veteran community, to take that fierce love and fierce protective nature of a mother and put it towards the population. I think that if we invest in their well-being, they will give back a lot. And I think that's probably the message I'd want to share for anybody else that feels maybe that they don't know where to put all that motherly love. There is a place to put it.
Well, you found a place to put motherly love, and this community thanks you for that and your years of work, and mission accomplished in a lot of ways, but I know there's still work ahead. So thank you for being here and sharing your story. Ryan, on this 250th birthday of America, thank you for your service, your uniform service, and thank you for your service in this role with ClearPath.
Thank you.
Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
That does it for Newsmakers on this weekend. For all the hardworking people of News Channel 9, have a great weekend.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.